So our first film of Surf Day today is The Rider. And from The Rider, we have director Caitlin Marie Miner Ong here with us. And congratulations, because The Rider has been nominated for Best Animated Film. I know that this film is slightly autobiographical. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about how autobiographical it is?
So I actually started to learn to surf a year and a half ago, and I'm in my mid 30s. So I feel like that's kind of rare. And when I was starting to surf, I was like watching a lot of surf films, and it was all like very inspiring. People are doing amazing things. I mean, as you can see from the lineup in this festival alone, but I didn't see anything that reflected my story of like trying something new for the first time and going out and failing and just like keep wiping out and like trying so hard just to get your first wave. So I wanted to make like a piece of art in a film that really like reflected that experience, because I think lots of times we like see these huge epic like films and all this amazing surf that's happening, and you kind of forget like everyday people have access to this beautiful art form too.
How did you first discover surfing on Far Rockaway? Were you on the A train heading that way?
Not quite. I mean, I've been in the city for 18 years. So, I remember like seeing people walking around on the subway, like with surfboards and being like, who are those crazy people? Like, what the heck are they doing? And then just slowly kind of understanding that there's actually so much outdoor stuff to do. I started rock climbing in New York City. You can rock climb in Central Park. And then that community kind of like unfolded itself. You're like, actually, it is the Big Apple, but there's tons of stuff to do, including the beaches of Rockaway, which is like obviously one of my favorite places now.
And I am curious, how long did it take you to make this film?
It takes a long time to animate, especially cell animation, which is frame by frame. So for every second of film, it's between 12 and 24. I mixed up the frame rates, individual drawings, like a flip book. So it takes a very, very long time for one person to make a film. And this was 3 minutes long. So I had to find a way that was also, that made sense aesthetically and art direction wise for the film, but also could be replicated. It averaged about an hour for every second or an hour for every 2 seconds. So it took a long time.
There's such a beautiful color palette in this film of blues and oranges, and it all feels very specific. And I'm curious, how did you pick those specific shades and tones?
I think a lot of people feel this way. Like you go to a new city, and I feel like every place has its own color palette. And so if you're like, what is New York? You think blues and grays. But I wanted to take that kind of like blue gray and push it more towards that beachy surfer side, because Rockaway is so bright and it's just so culturally diverse too. There's like so much happening. So you have all of the graffiti, but you also have this like juxtaposition between these like graffiti and like old New York signs, and then this beautiful vast nature in this beach that, like, honestly, if you're not in Brooklyn or Queens, like a lot of people don't even think to go there. So it's really cool.
So you have kind of an impressive career. Besides doing animated films, you also are an illustrator. You work as a digital art director for brands such as Martha Stewart, Southern Living, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm curious how your work in these fields has influenced your work on this short film.
As an art director and illustrator, a lot of my brand work that I've done in the past, it's been animation wise, has been for like social media. So like Instagram or TikTok. So you're talking very short animation, like 30-second loops. And so the writer actually came from a New Year's resolution I had to make a longer animation, because I wanted to practice long form animation instead of just having these like quick little shareable Giphy stickers for all of the brands that I work for. It's like, okay, how do I take that skill that I have from my career and extrapolate it into something that is a longer art form? So I've definitely been informed by my career, like all the way through, for sure.
Also curious about the score. So obviously it's inspired by Duke Ellington's Take the A Train. You can hear it all throughout that song. I was like, this sounds quite familiar. I wonder
Yeah.
what this is. So I'm curious about the choice to have that song involved in this project and how you went about creating this score loosely based on that song.
Yeah, so yeah, we wanted to be like, we wanted the audio piece to be a little bit of like an homage, right? Like we want to pull in more of that New York scene to it, but we wanted to create like a newer form of that. And my composer, who's also my husband, so it was very easy to get him to do things, is, is Andy. Bandit Lou is his artist name. And he runs a lot of work with lo-fi production, specifically in modular synthesis and live coding, which is frankly above my head, to be honest. But, you know, taking all of these more traditional compositions, like take the A Train, and then kind of deducing them into like a coded jazz is how I would describe it. So it's a lot of breaking down each individual piece and then restructuring it in a modular synthesis way.
Well, I'm also curious, what do you hope the audience takes away from your short film?
Oh, I just hope that they take away that you can love anything no matter what stage you are at it. You know, like I was saying, it's important, you know, for our art and our culture to showcase being new at something and the freedom to explore trying new things. And that's what I really want everyone to take home from this.
Beautiful. I love it.
What have you learned about yourself through the making of your film?
I think that deciding to make a film is a really big goal and it can be very daunting. So I found that it's really important as an independent filmmaker to have external guidelines of, you know, when you want every aspect done, like when you want the plot done, when you want the, you know, the art direction done, when you want the score done. There's so much that goes into it that I think you can be really, really overwhelming. So coming up with those due dates for yourself is really important. And that's something that I've learned about myself, is that I can procrastinate it unless I have like specific goals.